Had a nice little thing, but I had to let it go. Cause I'm only after M's, kinda like the letter O. Cause my true color's green, so I had to let it show. Yeah, skirt.
Welcome back, Dope Fam. Today I'm going to be talking about a story when I ran away when I was 13. This is a very long story, and I'm sure some of my viewers know what I'm talking about because they went to middle school with me. So, in order for you guys to totally understand why it was the reason why I ran away, I have to give you guys a little bit of backstory. So, I met Hera in church school because I had to do my catecismo and stuff like that to do my quinceañera when I was 12. Yep, okay, 12. And we went to this church school together, and we started falling in love, and we were so young. And I always had, when I was younger, I had this very difficult relationship with my dad. My dad was very machista, and I was his only girl. But Sophie back then didn't exist, of course. It was just me and my two brothers. And I was getting my puberty time, where I was being a little rebel. But I never was because they never allowed me to. My dad was so strict with me. I couldn't even go to the movies with my cousin or my cousins because he would think wrong of me. And then it would make me so mad because I'd be like, when did I ever do anything for you to think like that about me? Also, if my brothers fell, let's say I was inside of the house and my brother was outside and he fell, I would get in huge trouble. My dad would be like, well, why don't you take care of him? He would scream at me. And those of you that know my dad, we're from Sinaloa, and so, we talk very ugly. Especially my dad, since he's from El Rancho, he cusses every day, all day. But there's a difference between him cussing when he's happy versus when he's mad. And so, everything he tells you, just by looking at you, will, kill you. And so, I was this 12, 13-year-old, trying to grow up and, with self-confidence and stuff. And that did not happen because my dad would always put me down, when I thought, I looked pretty or, when I tried to be more feminine, he would be like, you look stupid, take that makeup off, And so I would just be like, oh my God, and I would cry a lot. And so this was a time where, I think when I turned 13, so I met Hera in August, I think, and then I turned 13 in June. Shit, so I was 12? Oh my God, anyway, so I had this little tiny phone, I think it was Virgin Mobile, very cheap phone. And I got a hold of Hera's phone when we were talking. And so then, we would talk 24/7 behind my dad's back, because if my dad found out that I was talking to a guy, whoo, I would have gotten killed. And so it was more at night where I would text him and then shove my phone underneath my pillow, because my dad would seriously spank the crap out of me and tell me all these crazy things. And so then every time my dad would make me feel bad or would call me fat or would be like, you need to lose weight, you look fat, or take that makeup off, you look stupid, I would text Hera and be like, my dad just told me this, I'm crying, I don't know what to do. He would be the person to be like, oh, don't listen to him, you're beautiful, don't let him put you down, you're worth all of this, da da da. Just sweet talking me, And so then I started to fall in love with him because he was just the first guy who was nice to me, And so then every time me and my dad would get in these big arguments, I would go to Hera and he would help me out and he would make me feel better. And so then, that happened for a few months, and then me and Hera started dating in January of 2009. And we were in 8th grade. And so then I remember being in the living room and texting him. I was like, I think I want to run away. And he was like, I remember him telling me, are you sure? This is, it's scary to run away. It's something serious. And I was like, yes, I want to run away. I am so serious. I'm going to be so much happier with you. And I swear to God, in my 13-year-old or my 12-year-old head, I thought my family was way happier without me and that they hated me and that, I just wasn't meant to be with them. That's how much my dad's words hurt me to think that way. And I'm serious. If I put myself back in my shoes when I was that young, I seriously felt that way. And so now, whenever I grow up and have my kids, I'm going to try and not do that to my kids because it's a scary time. And so then, back then, we had swimming class. And so then like that was my way to take all my clothes to Hera's house, because in the morning I would like put a whole bunch of clothes in my book bag, and my parents wouldn't tell me anything. Like I think they questioned me once, and I was like, oh, it's because I have swimming class and I have to change, you know. But they never really looked inside. Like I was just super good at that, and like I can't believe it. But anyway, so for a few weeks I started taking clothes, and little by little I ended up having no clothes in my room, and Hera had all my clothes at his house. And so I really don't know how my mom didn't like understand that what was going on, because she's always like in my room. Like me and my mom have always been best friends, and like I remember during that time, like a few days before I actually ran away, I remember I left my room and I went to sleep downstairs in like this dark room. And I remember my mom was like, why are you sleeping downstairs? And I was like, because like I just wanted to be alone. Like I felt like every little thing I did, I would get knick-knacked and like yelled at, and so I was just like, whatever, like I'm just leaving. You guys are happier without me, so I'm gonna leave. And so then me and Hera kept talking, and I was like, does your dad know? And he was like, yeah, of course he does. He was like, he told me that he's gonna paint the room upstairs purple, and like you're gonna live with us, and like we're gonna have kids. I was 12, 13. Like we were just both so in love that like we thought things were gonna be very easy. Right now I'm 21, and if I had kids I would kill myself. I'm not ready for them yet. And so yeah, so like I thought that was the smartest thing I could ever done. I thought Hera's family knew, and like everything was just to be like unicorns and marshmallows and like rainbows. I thought it was just gonna be like the best thing ever. And like at night we would talk about how we would like at night we could, since I had no freedom where I was like with my parents, we would be like, yeah, at night we're gonna go on top of a church and we're gonna watch the stars together and da 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 da. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. And so then the day came when I had to run away. So it was the last day of 8th grade. I've always been younger than everybody because I was born in June in the summer, and so I believe I was 12. Wow. I hope you guys don't think wrong of me. I was just a teenager, a crazy teen, like I don't know, fucked in the head. So then 8th grade came, and last day of 8th grade, usually my parents would pick me up in front of the school like everybody else, but this time I remember we had an assembly. And so we had to get exited through the side doors of Bryan Middle. And I remember my best friend back then, she was just like even she was like kind of worried for me. She's like, are you sure you want to run away? And I remember when she told me that, I was like, I thought she would support me. And like now I understand why like she was like worried for me, because I was 12, you guys. Like who runs away when they're 12 and wants to have kids? And like it's just mind-blowing. And so then I remember I had my Louis Vuitton purse, and I was like ready to run away. And that morning that my dad dropped me off, I was like the happiest teenager ever. I was like, yes, like I don't have to be with them anymore. They don't have to worry about me, and I don't have to worry about them. Like they're just gonna be happy. I'm gonna be happy. And just to think about it, like my parents absolutely love me. And so like when I think about the stuff that I did, I'm just like, oh my god, what did I do? And so then the bell rang, and like all this adrenaline started kicking in. I remember I was wearing these Nike high top SBs, some black jeans, and a box like bright yellow shirt, and my long hair, and like I looked pretty good. But and so then I remember like I ran through the exit doors, through the side doors, and I ran down Bryan High, went around that, and me and Hera said that we were gonna meet by a creek that is close to Gross middle school or high school or something like that. So we met there, and I remember we were like happy, we were like kissing and hugging, and we were like, we're gonna have the best life ever. Like let's not worry about what people are gonna think or who's gonna try to like take us apart, you know. And so then on the way there, actually I texted my mom, and I couldn't think of a reason why I ran away. Like I didn't know how to tell her. And I knew that the only way I could tell her and for them to leave me alone and let me run away was to tell them that I was pregnant. Because, you know, in a Hispanic family, like, if you're pregnant and you're young, you get kicked out of your house. And so I was like, yes, that's what I'm going to make up, that I'm pregnant. I was a virgin. And so I was like, I texted my mom, and I was like, Mom, I am pregnant. I am happy. Hera's happy. I'm going to move over to his house. Like, everything's gonna be fine, don't worry about me, like I can still go visit. Like I was being super casual, like I can go visit you and you can visit me, like it's just that I chose to do this and da da da. Like a long ass message through my Virgin Mobile flip phone. And so texted her and I turned it off because I was scared. I was like, shit, like what's gonna happen? So then I head on that creek where I told you guys, and then we walked to Jonathan's house, Jonathan Galliano's house. And so that's where his friends were at, and some of my friends were there too. Oh, I'm not wearing my ring. This guy just showered. I take it off when I shower. But so there we met all our friends, and we were like, have a party, 12-year-old party at Hera's house or something like that. And so then we get there, and passing Gilder Elementary, we're walking past Gilder Elementary, and Hera's like, turn on your phone, we should know what's going on, And I was like, no, I don't want to turn it on. Like, I don't care what people have to say. I'm going to stay with you. Like, I love you and all these things. And so then he's like, please just turn it on. We just have to know what's going on. And so then I turn it on, and it goes, zzz, 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 like, thousands of messages pop into my phone and, like, missed calls. And so I have a aunt who's not really my aunt, but she's, like, a mother to me. She's, like, my mom's best friend. And my tia, she texted me. She's like, well, if you don't go home, I'm going to call the cops. And so then that's when I was like, why are the cops involved? And obviously, like, I wasn't born here, and, like, I was like, I don't want to have issues with the cops. Like, I'm going to be sent to Mexico, like, back then, And so I was like, holy crap, like, I need to text her back. And so I texted back, and I was like, please, like, no cops. Like, I don't even think I texted back, but, like, this is where it's kind of blurry. But she said she was going to call the cops, or that she already did, and that was, like, a minor runaway or something like that. And so then my mom was texting me and calling me, and she called me, and she was like, no, she texted me. She was like, please answer me. She was like, I want to talk to you. She's like, if you don't want to come back home, it's okay. I just want to talk to you. And so I was like, okay. So I believed her. And so I called her, and she was like crying. She was like, what happened to all the times you told me that you weren't going to get pregnant, and that you weren't like those other girls, and that you were going to go to college, and that, you were going to like do all these things that you told me about. And so then I started crying because then I felt like crap. And so she's like, can we please meet up? She's like, you don't have to come back home. I just want to see you and give you a hug. And so I was like, sure, And so about an hour passed, and like me and Hera are still hugging each other and like scared that we're going to get separated. And I remember like Hera holding my head and I holding his head, and like our nose touching, and we were like, I love you, and if anything happens, just know that I will always love you, and like all these, all these like lovey-dovey things. And so then I see a car pull up, and it's my mom. And then I see another car pull up, and it's my dad. And like when I saw my dad, like my mom said it was just her. But then my dad pulled up. And so then I remember I was sitting like on the curb. I was sitting on the curb like this, like a gangster. Like I gave no fucks. I was just like, whatever. And I remember my friend, I think my, Ruth was there. And I remember my dad comes and like pulls my hair. Or like pulls me to go into the car, but I'm still being like rebellious. I was like, no, and like I pushed them, and like we were like fighting, like pushing, because my dad would pull me and I would pull against, like I wouldn't let myself. And so then my dad was like, métete al pinche carro, like screaming, like not giving a fuck, in the middle of the street, and there's cars coming, and like they had to stop, and like it was pretty much a show. Like people could have popcorn and like enjoy what was going on. So then finally my mom shoved me into, we had an expedition, and like where you put your feet, I literally fit down there. I don't know how, but I was facing this way, like in the car, and the door was here. And then my mom was like trying to push me in there, but at the same time I was trying to kick the door so I could get out of the car. And I remember I kept saying, like, I will always respect my mom no matter what situation, so I didn't want to hit her. So I was like, Mom, move, I don't want to hit you. And so like I kept moving the door because I wanted to get out. So eventually she shoved me in there, and then I remember looking back, and there's Hera and my dad arguing, like about to fight. And then all of Hera's friends came to take Hera away because I guess they were gonna fight or something. And I'm just like, oh my god. And I was like in tears. I didn't want to go home. And so, and I had my two little young brothers in the car. My mom had them in the car. So I'm gonna bring them just so they can tell you guys what they remember. Never mind. I thought they were down here, but they left upstairs. They're outside or something. But I already asked my brother, and he said that I think he was 4. One was 4, and the other one was 5. And that they were just really scared because my parents were beating me up, and, like, they didn't know what was going on. And so, so I said I was in the car, and then they took me home, and I remember getting off the car, slamming the garage door, running into my room, and slamming the, my room door. And I remember laying on the bed, like, just like this, you know, and then my dad was like, "Te metiste con él?" like asking me, you know, if I had sex or whatever, and like I was still saying yeah because I wanted them to let me go, and I was like yes, and he's like, "You're such a B," and like all of these crazy things, and I was just like, just let me go back with him. And so they were like, "Well, we have to take you to the doctor so we know that you're not pregnant." So here we go to the doctor, and that aunt that was like my mom, she works at a clinic, and so they just took me there, and I remember going in there, peeing in the cup, 12 years old, and the nurse was like, "What's wrong with your arms?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And then I literally had like blood and like scratches and like bruises, and like my lip was busted because like in the whole fighting situation, like I think my dad knocked me out or something. Like we brawled, like it was bad, but it's because I kept pulling away, and like, you know, thank God that my parents kicked my ass. I applaud them, because if it weren't for them, I would have like 10 kids already and not have an education. But anyway, so I was at the doctor, and obviously it came back negative, and then, oh Jesus Christ. Came back negative, and then, my, like, I didn't want to go back home with my parents. How awkward is this after I just ran away and, like, go back home and just, you know, chill? Like, no. And so I went back with my aunt, my mom, with my, like, she's like my mom. So went back to her house, and like she sat me down. I remember we talked in the porch, and like she gave me like a good talk, you know, because my parents were mad at me, so they weren't gonna talk to me. They were gonna like scream at me and like, you know, be mean. And so I totally understand that. But she was like talking to me. She's like, when I was your age, like I tried running away, or I think she was a little bit older, but she was like in an abusive relationship, and like she was just giving me advice, like you don't never know what's gonna happen. You have to be careful, you know. And so I love her so much. And so then she's like, "Do you want me to take you to Hera's house so we can pick up the things, and so you can say bye to him, and, you know, so he can leave you alone?" Like, everybody thought, like, it was him, the one who, like, dragged me into it. But honestly, it was me who wanted to run away. And I always told, like, I never threw him under the bus, because it was never him. It was me. And it was because of all the things that I had gone through, like, growing up with my parents. Like, I don't know. Like, my parents are the greatest. Like, I will talk about that in a little bit. But, like, so then they passed, she dropped me off at Hera's house really quick to pick up my things, and Hera was already ready with all my things there. I don't know how he knew that I was going to go and pick it up. I think my aunt called him or something. And so then, like, I gave him a hug. He was, like, the longest, saddest face I've ever seen in him. And so then, like, we said deuces, and I hopped in the car with her, and she dropped me off at home. So then when I got home, my parents were still, like, in shock and crying, you know? And so then, like, my dad, I finally was able to tell my dad why I did such a thing. And I told him, like, it's because you would always put me down. Like, my self-esteem was shitty. And, like, throughout the years, I've been able to put my own self-esteem a little higher. But it fucked me up in the head, like, the way he would talk to me. And, like, maybe he didn't mean it, but, like, when you're growing up, everything just, it would hurt. Like, I would cry a lot. And, like, just think about it now, like, it makes me emotional, because, like, it was very difficult. And so then when I told my dad, like, what his words had cost me, he started crying, like, bawling. And so I was like, oh my God, like, he cares for me. He cares about me. And I am serious. Like, I thought he didn't care about me, or, like, if I died, he would be happy. Like, that's how bad it was, because of how I felt. And so then, like, ever since that day, like, it hit me. I was like, holy snaps. Like, my parents totally care about me. Like, why, you know? But I told him, like, this is the reason why I ran away, and they totally, like, they were just in shock themselves, like, oh my God, like, we caused this, you know, kind of like that. And so then the next day, like, my dad's like, we're leaving to California, you can't be here, I don't want you to be here, because then you're going to talk to him again. So they took me to California. So I was in California for the whole 3 months of the summer, and I couldn't talk to Hera. So before we left, they made me call him and say, like, please leave me alone, I'm leaving, like, bye, like, just, and that was the hardest thing ever, because I loved him and he loved me, or whatever. And so then I was gone for those 3 months, And like I had Facebook and all, but I couldn't, like my parents had me very like vigilado, like I couldn't go to the computer. If I went out with my cousins, like it was kind of iffy because they thought I would use her phone, and I really did. Shout outs to my cousin Joanna. I remember she would let me text him or like call him, but it was just very hard. Imagine like being super in love and like, and then not be able to talk to them. Like it was just such a hard summer. Like I would cry every night. Like I couldn't enjoy my summer because I was seriously in love, and like it had just been a hard thing to go through. It was like the hardest things, and you just had to be strong. And so then when we came back, it was time to start freshman year. And so then my dad was like, if he loves you, he's gonna wait for you, and you'll meet him again in high school. And I was like, what the hell? But I think I remember a weekend before school started, because I got there like a week before. I was able to see him and meet up with him at a park. And I remember he like skateboarded all the way from his house to that park. And like we reunited, and it was like the best thing ever. Like we hugged and we cried, and we were just like, you know, like I love you and I'm glad that you waited for me. Because I mean, he could have freaking gone and like got another girl, you know. I don't think he cheated on me, who knows, but whatever. That was a long time ago. And so then freshman year started, and we I saw him like for real, like without having to hide, for the first time our first day, and we started dating again. And it was kind of like on the low because of course my dad hated the hell out of his guts, but like slowly by slowly, like they started to realize like, damn, they're serious, you know, they really want to be by each other, and they really want to like be serious. Is the thing recorded? Anyway, and so yeah, and so little by little, like he would be able to go to my house. So we had like scheduled days, like Tuesdays at like from like 5 to 9. Like he couldn't go in my room. It was just like in the living room, and only at that time. He couldn't stay any longer, like anything like that. And little by, like if I went to the movies, my brothers had to come with me. How I said, I have 2 brothers. So yeah, so then by the time I was in high school in my freshman, I was already 13, because I turned 13 in California. I remember that. Damn, so I was 12, you guys. 12. But now that I'm older and I understand things, like I thank my parents, and still to this day I thank them for not letting me run away, you know? Like they understand, and I still tell them like the reason why I ran away was because I was like, I seriously thought they didn't love me just because of the way my dad used to talk to me, or like just, I seriously would get screamed at for the stupidest things ever, and I would just be like, what the hell would I do to you, you know? And so I was just very hurt, and but I thank them because like now, because of them, like now I'm actually married to Hera, and we don't want to have kids yet because we're not ready to have kids, you know? Like I want to go to school first and become a nurse and yada yada before I have kids. And so like after that whole running away situation, I grew up a lot. Like I'm so much mature. Like I was like super mature when I was like a freshman, just because of what I had gone through. And so is Hera, and so our relationship has always been super mature, and I feel like that, like I don't regret doing that, because if I wouldn't have done that, my dad would have never learned from that situation, because ever since that day he treats me differently, like totally differently, and I like understand that my parents love me. Like I don't think, like when they scream at me, it's not that, oh, they don't love me or whatever. But I mean, I'm 21, I'm older now, but like back then it was very different. So yeah, I learned so much about them. So if this video helps anybody, like 20 teenagers out there who think your parents don't love you, like that's not true. It's just that they absolutely love you, and everything they do is for your best, and because they truly care about you. They're just really scared. Like imagine, put yourself in their shoes, like to have a kid and like to have them just have boyfriends and girlfriends, like it's a scary thing. And so yeah, like don't run away, stay at home. Your parents really do love you. Everything, how I said, everything they tell you is because they care about you, and they don't want you to, you know, have a rough life or like screw up or whatever. And so yeah, that was my running away story. And so now I'm happily married to my husband for like 4 years. Yeah, 4 years, and we're still together. We've been dating ever since 2009, and now it's 2017. Oh my god. Time flies. I was 12. Now I'm 21. Crazy. Crazy, crazy, crazy. So you guys, I hope your guys' New Year's was perfect and you guys had it with all your family and your loved ones, and I hope you got turned up and had fun. I didn't do much. I just stayed at home. Usually I like go out and like have fun, but this year I was just like, 2016 was kind of rough, and so I was like, 2016, the people who were really there for me were my parents. So I was like, you know what, for the new year, I'm going to stay here with them and celebrate with them. And so I stayed at home with them. I watched movies. Like, it was just a very chill, more emotional type of thing. Like, you know, like more attached. I feel happy. We were all happy. And so, yeah. Thanks for watching. If you guys like story time, let me know so I can keep on doing these. I think I am going to do it regardless. Just have like a series of story time. And yeah, if you guys like this video, go ahead and give it a big thumbs up or leave your comments below. And if you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and subscribe. That way you don't miss out on any of my videos. And then if you haven't watched my previous videos, just make sure to go and watch them. So yeah, thank you so much. I love every single one of you guys.